Types of farming. Children, we people have three major types of farming. One is primitive farming, next is intensive farming, and third is commercial farming. Now, what is this primitive? As the word itself explains, that quite old. Primitive, it is quite old. So the old ways, old methods to work on the fields for agriculture purpose, for crops purpose, that is termed as primitive farming. So what we do here we particularly use old tools like the sickle and digging sticks. These are the tools used in primitive farming. Who works here? The farmer. They are just marginal here, those who have very small patches of land. So what they do, they involve their family members and they do farming with the help of their family members. So as they do not have to pay it to somebody else, as they are earning very small income, so they keep it with them as they are marginal ones. This is primitive subsistence farming and just being done in rural areas by the smaller or poorer farmers. Now, land holdings in this primitive are quite small. So small land holdings, as they have simply smaller patches of lands. So they do farming in those only smaller patches of land. Next comes that how do they work with, means irrigation, how it is done. So they are dependent on monsoon. So they are dependent on rains only for their agriculture. Next comes beta intensive farming. Here also patches of land are quite smaller. So small land patches are there. Who works over here? Because the farmer wants to fetch more income for themselves. So what they do cropping more than once in the same smaller patch of land. So 2 to 3 crops they do raise. They just try to get maximum output, so they put more labor over there. So it becomes labor intensive in this case. It is also sometimes as much capital they are able to arrange for, so they utilize their capital also. So it becomes capital intensive. Along with this, they put certain modern equipments. Modern, that is implementation of green revolution on their patches of land. So with this, modern inputs are also utilized over here. Here we talk for irrigation, that they arrange some better means of irrigation. Tube wells, canals are there. Better seeds are being used. So this way, in intensive farming, output is more and income is quite better than the primitive farming. Now comes commercial farming. In this commercial farming, the cropping is done particularly for plantations. Now this plantation crop is said to be worked out, basically started by the British in our country. Once they started with the scientific forestry, Dietrich Brandes, German expert, was here deployed for. Once they just depleted the forest, they did deforestation in our country and they grew plants of similar species so as they can get better wood for their industries to work in as their raw material. So plantation crops, what is it gets involved? It involves jute, cotton, rubber, and see children, these are forming the base of one or the other industries. So here we come to know various types of farming. These are primitive, intensive, and finally commercial. This is done for the complete sale purpose. Now commercial is what? For getting better income. Once we say income, so these are good for gaining maximum income. And it was started by the British in our